every single state, almost, without exception, where there was a referendum on the vote for the 19th, women were not allowed to vote on it. They were not allowed to vote for their own voting rights. In fact,
that would make sense.
The anti-suffragettes demanded, or I'm sorry, the suffragettes demanded that they not be able to vote and that it instead be constitutionally enshrined, because they had tried to allow them to vote before and it did not pass. So no, Susan B. Anthony did not utilize great political activism.
Moving past that one case study, women are capable of political activism? Yes or no?
Sure. As long as men allow them to be. That's my claim, is that all enforcement is allowance. So anything that women are allowed to do as an external force anywhere in the world is because men are necessarily allowing that to happen.
That argument is based purely on physicality.
That's
it's saying
correct.
basically at any time, because a man could physically overpower a woman, he could just and prevent her from doing anything. How is that an argument for a woman having less rights than a man?
The argument would also move to men as well. So it would also be saying that men can do the exact same thing to other men, and they can do this to women.
I would agree with that.
But women can never do it to men.
Okay, what about women to other women?
Sure.
Then can't they enforce rights?
You mean, can they enforce their rights against other women?
Yeah.
Sure, but they can't against men.
Okay.
So, I mean, ultimately, what we're establishing is that men enforce rights and that women cannot enforce their own rights. And so since that is the case, I do not believe that men and women are equal. And since they are not equal, then it becomes a why should we allow for women to have these rights when if we have determined that they should not? What would be the moral argument for it?
Do children deserve rights?
Limited. Yeah, there's a moral argument to be made there, I think. But like, do children get the right to vote?
True. But I mean, well,
they tend to frown on that, right?
Typically. But the argument is that someone shouldn't have to think, oh, my rights aren't going to be enforced simply because I can't enforce them. What about disabled men? Do their rights not deserve to be enforced in society?
Men can take that away from them. They could.
So you're saying a disabled man is the same as a woman?
Yeah, I'm saying that if you have that, all rights essentially come down to force. Then you can chop it up either which way you want. You can make as big of a group as you want or as small of a group as you want. However you want to chop it up, you can do. You can do it with only tall men, only medium-sized men, only small men. But ultimately, it's going to be men who are giving rights and taking rights away.
But see, you've pointed out multiple exceptions to the rule. What if we remove all of the exceptions and just say the strongest 50% of the population? It's not going to be all men.
That would still be men.
Well, okay. Well, let's say...
There's no way around it.
No. Well, no, there's definitely a multitude of men out there that are weaker than women. Okay. I'm bad at math, honestly. But what I'm saying is, like... Yeah,
you want to revise that?
You can't... If you're basing it on biological physicality, then why does it have to be between the two genders if there are women that are stronger than smaller men? If it's based purely on the use of force, why don't we just base it on who is most capable of using force, like the Olympics or something?
What am I missing? What are you doing? Here, take this. I don't know what is all that about?
There's a bit of white specks. I was just trying to...
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What the OCD, Brian?
Sorry, I'm just being... I don't want people to think you got dandruff and shit.
Why would you use sex as the determining force if you've already admitted that there are people who break the exception and there are women who would be stronger than some men?
Because no matter
why don't you just choose the strongest people from each society?
Because the strongest people from each society are going to still be the men.
Okay. But all right.
Just a little bit, please, Andrew. Please, just like on that side.
What?
Wait a little higher up.
What is there? There's cotton here.
No, just like there's little white puffs from the on the other side. The other side.
Ashes? What is it from?
You want? Can I do it?
Yeah,
Can I do it? Hold on. Welcome to the Whatever Podcast.
Bro.
I'm sorry.
Are you serious? Is ash some ash freaking you out, dude?
Some cigarette.
What the fuck?
Some cigarette.
Anyway.
There was a little cigarette droppings or
All
something.
right.
All
So
right.
back to the debate.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
Remind me to never get a barbecue stain on a white T-shirt around you, dude.
I'm the comic relief of
Yeah, this guy loses mind. He get a barbecue. He'd be like the whole time. He would never be able to enjoy the barbecue. He'd just be staring at that guy the whole time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. Look at how sharp you look now. Hold on, wait. There's a little more. I'm
There's
sorry.
a little more.
I'm sorry.
Get it all, Brian.
There we go. You can just. I mean, it's
All
kinda,
right.
it's dug. It's just dug in there.
That
on
makes me
your-
want to like go smoke another cigarette just
Okay.
to flick it towards myself now. But anyway, where are we at? Oh yeah. When it came to rights, yeah, we've determined even at the highest level, it would still be men, right?
I've already conceded that the monopoly of force, I guess, is with men. But, like I said,
So then the monopoly of enforcement would be.
no, because the enforcement of rights is not purely physically done. It's also done by stigmas and other things that you've talked about before.
Yeah,
Ideas,
so stigmas,
social contracts,
stigmas can move.
obedience to the
Sure,
institutions.
stigma and patriot.
What's the difference between anarchy and governmental state if the only monopoly of force is based on physicality?
Yeah, so stigmas, for instance, and patriotism, that could be a really good one to look at too. All of these things can definitely influence a worldview or a viewpoint, but that still is not going to change who's going to end up ultimately having to enforce the worldview or viewpoint. And it's not going to be women, it's going to be men. And this was the primary anti-suffragette, or one of the primary anti-suffragette arguments made by the non-feminist women pre-19th was, look, one of the biggest problems is we're not fighting the wars, and we're not ever going to. And we're not going to ever act as the enforcement arm in society, and we're never going to because we can't. We're not physically able to do this job. Now, you can point to some exceptions which can, right? Some few women who can, that'll always be the case, but by and large, it's never going to be the case because just on the average is that men are far stronger, not moderately stronger, they are far stronger than women. And that's what gives them such a massive edge when it comes to enforcement.
Would you say that men who have never served in the military or the police force are not entitled to rights?
I think that you could make a good argument that if we were going to limit suffrage, the best thing that we could do to limit it would be to have some sort of public service that men and women both had to do. And if they were able to get through whatever that public service was, I think the military would be a great example, then they've earned that right. That way, somebody who's your age, for instance, who may not know as much as a person who's 50 or 60, can't negate their well-informed vote, but rather you had to go and you had to in some way earn it.
So you're very much like a civic duty Republican in that sense.
I wouldn't say it's a civic duty Republican, right? But I would say that if you're going to have a vote, if that is a system we're going to have, I don't see how it's even conscionable to just let everybody participate in it. Most people are remarkably politically uninformed. They have no idea about anything at all. Why should we let all of them do that?
Do you think we should have a literacy test?
I mean, I think
Before
you should
voting?
have a literacy test before you're even allowed to come in the country.
Okay.
And I think that, it would probably be a good idea to make sure that only literate people could exercise a right like that, for sure, right?
Yeah. So you're saying there should be some sort of intelligence test at the polls before someone is able to act out their rights.
I think that you could even dunk down to some type of average intel. I don't think you have to be super smart to, move into, to move into the right to vote. But what you do need to have is some kind of bleeding for it, right? So it used to be you had to own property, or there was other criteria that you had. Now there's nothing. Everybody can participate. And that seems like a really bad idea that so many people can get rid of an informed vote with their uninformed vote.
So what do you think are the criterion that they should have to fulfill?
I think that they should have to do probably 6 years of mandatory duty to some kind of institution with no pay. And then they can have that right.
Okay. And you would be open to women doing that too?
I would, but just so you know, an entailment of this is that most would not,
Why wouldn't they?
because they don't now. So when there are, and you can actually go country by country where this is true, where service is something which gives you an additional privilege, women usually don't apply for whatever that is because they don't need to. What's the point? They still basically are pampered princesses in society, right? You're just negating them being able to, well, you're not even negating them. They could if they go through the same service process, but most of them don't.
Why are women pampered princesses in society?
Because basically men have taken care of all the infrastructure in such a way that almost all hardship is out of the way of women.
Was that men's choice?
Well, I wouldn't say it depends. There's a bit of determinism when it comes to how men operate with inventiveness and you have capital, things like this. But yeah, I would say ultimately it's a choice. Sure.
So
Just like it's a choice for them not to collectively enslave all women on planet Earth tomorrow. That's a choice. But still, if you look at the logic of it, it still seems that they could.
I would say that debunks